Hey guys, Tails here, back with another video. Now I'm finally ready to talk about this. This is not my first venture trying to talk about my comic book. I'm not ashamed to admit that I have tried and failed in the past to talk about my work, and it's always kind of been a struggle for me. I don't know why, it's just harder for me to talk about my own stuff than it is to talk about other people's stuff, I suppose. And I also have this problem where my series has been going on since 2017. So there's 137 chapters. I just finished 137 today, and my uploads are like 9 chapters behind, so I have a pocket if something were to happen. I think as far as talking about the series, I'm going to have to maybe make several videos and maybe just cover the first 14 chapters in this video and go from there. We'll see how this goes, because there's so much that happens. It's going to be spoilers, so please go check it out. It's free to read on Webtoon, and if you search it on Tapas, it's just called Tame. It's on there too. It's free to read. Just read the first 14 chapters. I'm not asking you to go crazy, but I am obviously going to be talking about spoilers. Okay, so a little backstory before we begin. As a kid, I was really into animation, Disney, the Disney kid, that kid, the Pokemans, and I really wanted to do animation. And then I got old and I realized how much work went into animation, and the whole process behind it, and the fact that you might only get to work on 2 movies, and the odds of you being the person who gets to write and create and direct those movies, and then you got all the outside people telling you, hey, you can't do that. Yeah, I was like, maybe I don't blow thousands of dollars on art college for that. I'm not feeling moving around the country. Also, animation is being siphoned out to other countries now because it's cheaper and it's just harder to find work. I wanted to be an animator for Disney before, in the 90s, okay? It was the 90s. It was a simpler time for so many reasons. But yes, I wanted to do that. And the way I actually found comics was because I wanted to create my own stories. So the first thing I actually did, it's kind of lame, but I was 14 and I drew out this movie about a cat, and it had magic powers. I drew it out on storyboards, and I had this whole, I'm not saying I knew a runtime, but I had this whole story, and that's really my first kick to when I was like, hey, I actually finished this. I had the motivation as a 14-year-old, and I enjoyed doing it. So after that, I just started making other series that you guys are never gonna see. That once upon a time, they were online, but no mas, no more. They exist no more. Well, my sketchbooks exist with these comics in, but you guys are never gonna see them. Not happening. Actually, now that I think about it, there are physical copies of my first book. I did that at home printing thing, and I managed to sell a few copies, but it was nothing crazy. And now I look back on those stories and I kind of just want to die inside. But I'm not saying they were bad, but my first comics, they weren't exactly legendary or anything. I've come a long way since there. Yes, I do still own copies of that. Yeah, they stay buried. But yeah, I was really trying to push myself online then without really knowing what I was doing. And I had this whole channel, and it was cringy. Well, this channel is cringy too, but that one was specifically more cringy because I also had the anxiety thing going on and not really wanting to talk, and you could tell it in my voice, and I had this really thick, not pleasant to listen to British accent, and those, oh my god, I can't, I'm not surprised. I did manage to get a little bit of a following, but I do not blame people for not wanting to watch those videos. I was working on that series and just kind of teetered off it and started this new series called Engine 999. On Webtoon, there's actually a remake I made a while back of Chapter 1 for that, but it's actually findable on DeviantArt. It's on, well, search Tails Kip Engine 999. Want to check that out. It's not finished. Like, if you want to see my early work, whatever, I don't care. But yeah, it's on there. That did pretty decently as a series online. Like, I wasn't actively trying to push it, and that got kind of a nice reading base behind it. Now this is where we come full circle, and we're back to my current series, Tame. So I was working on Engine 999. I just suddenly got inspired to draw a chapter for this Tame series. Now originally I was only planning to do like the one chapter, or two if I felt inclined. It was never supposed to go on for as long as it did, but I posted this first chapter and it got such a great response that I wanted to keep making more, and sadly the other series just kind of teetered off. I can only focus on one series at a time, guys. Obviously it's a lot of work behind making an entire comic series by yourself. I actually have someone who helps me with the editing called Elijah Lynette, and I appreciate that so much because I focus on everything in the art department, but grammar and stuff is not my forte, so I'm glad to have that support behind me at least. And she's been helping me since like day one with basically, even throughout all the other series, she was helping me with that, so that's cool. Back to Tame. So I just found myself working on this series, and it garnered a lot more attention than my previous series, and I was having fun doing it. So before I knew it, I was just away with this whole Tame series, and that is the whole arc behind that. Another thing that I have loved about working on this series is I was one of those artists where I always struggled to know what to draw, but I was really in the mood to draw. Like, I wanted to draw, but I couldn't think of anything. And I hated the fact that I was also one of those artists that struggled to finish a comic series. So I'm like, right, Tame. We're going all in. I am going to finish this series. And then I ended up having so much fun with it that it's still ongoing. Technically, I did have a nice wrap up in the first 14 chapters, but then I was just having so much fun that it kept going and just kind of evolved into this whole larger arc story. Like, I also make a purpose of trying to make every chapter matter and not have really any filler. So everything that's happened is pretty much like, there's none of those episodes where it's just like, in the anime you get the filler. There's no swimsuit episode. So if you're looking for that, sorry about you. But yeah, that is the arc. Start talking about the actual series now. If you're still here, I appreciate you hanging around and listening to this. It's not easy, despite how it might be coming across for me to stand here and talk about my own work. So I appreciate y'all hanging around to listen. Okay, the beauty of drawing a comic is, and working on it as frequently as I do, is that it helped me to get so much better at my art. I'm glad that I stuck with this comic for that reason. Like, it just helped me grow so much as an artist and with my art style. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, Kyoshi. The way this story starts out, first 14 chapters, okay? Getting into the spoilerishness now. So, the way the story starts out is there is an explosion at the main character Kyoshi's school. He is 14 in this point in the story when this happens, and there's like this giant explosion. Everybody's dead except him, because he gets saved by this demon called Nikio, little cat demon. He kind of cute, so he saves him. And throughout this great tragedy, Kyoshi gains the ability to see demons because he witnessed death. I know, it's super edgy, right? Okay, so that's that out the way. Once all that happens, the whole story for the next 14 chapters becomes about Kyoshi overcoming his grief. So after that, Kyoshi is taken technically in by his uncle, who basically just keeps him in an apartment complex that he owns. So Kyoshi just lives in this apartment with Nikio, who is basically just a little cat. Like, he can turn into a little cat. Kyoshi's been hanging out in his apartment for the last 3 years, basically not wanting to leave after the great tragedy he suffered through. And pretty much everything from this point for the next 14 chapters is him overcoming his grief. Now, when it comes to Nikio, there are rules between humans and demons, and there are certain rules that demons cannot break. Like, his class of demon is there to help the humans, and he's there to try and help Kiyoshi through whatever he's going through, and he has to follow certain rules, or the other demon's going to come after him. You know, pretty much, you know, just hang out, do your job, don't get all cuddly and stuff. Spoiler alert, it's got BL in it, so if you're not about that, then maybe the story isn't for you. It's not a main focus, by the way. It's just, you know, natural relationship. So these, I'm not going to spoil the rules because obviously that's a big point in the story. And basically what's going to happen is as Kiyoshi slowly overcomes his grief without realizing it, Nikio is going to start breaking these rules, and the demons are going to come after him. And then by the end, by the last 2 chapters, it's, you know, the final showdown where some spoilers are revealed that, again, I don't want to talk too much about in this video. Okay, so this is where it gets complicated because I'm not going to really talk anymore about the story because I plan to do that in my second video, because if I talk too much in this video, I'm going to give too many spoilers. So in my next video, I plan to talk about the second part of the prologue. The prologue is basically split into 3 different stories, and they're all like 14 chapters long. So once I'm talking about the second part of the prologue, and I've given you guys the chance to read the first part, then I can talk more about the growth without worrying about giving too many spoilers, and talk more about the first arc whilst I'm talking about the second, and then we'll progress. I know it's probably getting a little confusing, but there is a game plan here. After the prologue, the segmentation just kind of stops, and I just kind of let the story roll. Like there's Tame 1, Tame 2, Tame 3. That's how I split it up, and then it's just Tame. Because obviously I never really intended for it to go past Tame 1. And then there's Tame 2. And then there's Tame 3. And then I just let loose and everything goes into like full-on story mode. Like the depression is gone, the demons are coming, everything is real. Lucifer is there, of course. It's a story about demons. Like Lucifer is gonna show up. There's gonna be fights, explosions, character arcs, and it's gonna be a fun time, and I really am generally excited to finally talk about this again and really try again, because obviously working on these comics is great. It's fun time. It's been a super great opportunity for me to grow as an artist, but as long as someone reads it, I generally don't mind. But I would love for more people to be able to read it and give me feedback, because feedback is how I improve as an artist. And so far, with people who have read this series, have given me great comments and great feedback. So I have a lot of confidence in it. I put a lot of heart into it. This sounds cheesy, but I really have put a lot of time into this series. A lot of heart, really worked at it. I sometimes take long breaks, but that's necessary, because then I usually just come back fighting and I do infinitely better. And I do find it hard to look back on old chapters, not because of the story, but because of my art and just like how much it has evolved since I first started the series. Fun fact, Kiyoshi, you know how people have like character sheets and they'll go through like stages of designing characters? I drew Nikio once and then slapped him in a comic book. I drew Kiyoshi for the first time inside the comic. The whole story was originally supposed to follow Nikio, but then Kiyoshi had more of an arc, so he just became kind of the main character whilst Nikio was breaking all these rules, and that's how that went down. Fun fact too, you know how people plan comic? They're like, yeah, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. Yeah, kind of didn't do that either. I really like to, as a creator, just let the comic write itself, because if I plan too much, it just gets boring. It's like, I'm just like, oh, this is gonna happen, so I have to draw it, I have to follow the script. It's more fun for me to have the story change and evolve before my eyes and catch me off guard as I think of new things. In general, the plot itself has changed so many times, and the ending has changed from my original like thoughts. My original ending for this series has changed so many times, and it continues to change, evolve. I'm not going to say it's never going to end, but I want to set it up to a point where it's a series that I can have a nice ending to one story and comfortably start a new story without it being like Detective Conan, for example, that's been going on for like decades now, and he's been a child for God knows how many years, and they're like, no, he just solves a murder every day of the week, 24/7. It's like, this one kid's been around murder for God knows how long. It's like, you guys, you have this whole premise where he's trying to catch the bad guys and turn back into an adult. I think I made it up to episode 600 or something before I was just like, this is great, but I can't anymore. There's never going to be a conclusion. It's just never going to happen. And if there is a conclusion, I'm pretty sure I could just watch the last series and get it. Like, I mean, it was fun watching the murders and the stuff, but yeah, I do have a limit to the content I can consume. So, who knows? I may even finish the story one day and start. I don't know. I do not know. He's the creator. I have not known where the story has gone from the day I started it. That's not to say there's inconsistent writing because of that. P.S. I think it's pretty consistent if I say so myself. But yeah, I'm not like all over the place. It is consistent, and I do seriously consider, hey, is this going to fit into the story? I actually like this ending better than my original ending, so that's why I pursue this particular storyline. The characters are so much better for it, and having the characters write the story and become their own art, like, and make their own arcs just feels that more authentic to me. So yeah, never been the type to write a script. Sometimes I don't even know what's going to happen in the next chapter until I am about to work on the next chapter, or sometimes I do know ahead of time. Like, I'll have the basic story in my head, but then by the time it comes to write it, the story would have changed anyway. So it's like, well, okay, this still works, but I had a game plan and now it's changed. This one's actually better than my original idea. I'm gonna end this video here and let you guys check out the series, if you will. Free to read in the description. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share it with all your friends if you think they would like to read it. I would greatly appreciate that. One of my goals, I'm going to go ahead and say it because it's every goal of every creator, is to hit that main page. And I know that I'm one person going up against like a billion people trying to do the same. And I've known that from the start, but that's never going to stop me from trying. I'm going to keep trying. I would love to do art and comics and creating YouTube videos in general as a full-time gig one day, as anybody else would, but I also know that those cards aren't necessarily on the table, so I'm just enjoying the ride, and I've always enjoyed the ride, and it's a crazy one, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to do it. So yes, please go check out Tame. Finally made this video. Another one coming soon where I'll go more in depth on the characters and the story. This has just been a brief summary of the first 14 chapters. If you guys go in and read on ahead, then please do. I'm not going to stop you. Go all in. Let me know. I need to know so I can keep on growing. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe to this channel for more. I may even have some art videos in future. Who knows? But again, this channel's still young. I don't know where this channel is going. The future is bright. Everything is chaos right now, and I'm loving it. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for the support. Like, comment, subscribe. Good boy.